the next Centre for History staff seminar. It gives me great pleasure to welcome our wonderful speaker tonight, Professor Dauvit Broun. Sorry. Can I though just first of all welcome everybody out there in VC land. It's great to see so many people there wanting to hear what Dauvit has to say. That's really brilliant. Can I just say just a couple of things in terms of etiquette, I suppose. When we come to questions, I will absolutely turn to you guys on VC and VC first. But whilst Dauvit is speaking, can everybody just check that their microphones are off from your end, please, as we do get a little bit of feedback in the system if that occurs. So, without further ado, I'd like to welcome Professor Dauvit Broun. Did it again, sorry.
That's 2 points.
See, I'm English. He is, of course, the Professor of Scottish History at the University of Glasgow, taking over Ted Cowan's wonderful chair in 2009. He's written extensively on medieval Gaelic history, but also around themes of Irish identity, of the Kingdom of the Scots, Scottish independence, and the idea of Britishness. But tonight he's talking primarily around a history of Gaelic Scotland, whether it's possible, I suppose, to write or rewrite the history of Gaelic Scotland in the 12th and 13th centuries. And this talk comes out of, I think it's 4 funded research projects that Dauvit has been working on. 3 AHRC funded projects and 1 Leverhulme. So that is an amazing track record there. And Dauvit is at the end of this, not this talk, of course, but at the end of this project is going to be writing a book for EUP as part of their History of Gaelic Scotland series. So we are doubly, I suggest, lucky to have him speak to us tonight. So without further ado, I hand you over to Dauvit.
Right, well, thank you very much. That was almost the 3rd point. No, it's all right. Right, if I'll just check everybody's... thanks very much for making the effort to tune in, and everybody's on board. Are they? Okay, yes, marvellous. Excellent. Right, well, yes, this isn't the product of all these funded projects. There's a relationship to them ultimately, I suppose. But yes, I think I drew a very interesting straw, I was going to say short straw, in having to do this volume on the 12th and 13th centuries. So this is very much me attempting to think my way into that. And the rather curious title, referring to a bit of modern Gaelic, is shortly to be explained. Because Angel of Bristia recalls, as I'm sure many of you will know, the first volume of poems by Rory Thomas, Derek Thompson, published in 1951, and in particular, the opening of the poem which gave the collection its title. There we are told of a broken picture. Let's get the relevant bit of the poem. And there we are told of a broken picture, rejected because there is nothing to be gained by looking at it. There is no point in mending it, because the wall it would have adorned is itself cracked and unstable. This is a vivid image of cultural loss and community decay. In the Isle of Lewis, where MacComish grew up, and the lack of will or know-how to change this decline of culture and community. Now, this is linked to another theme in the collection, the personal pain of separation from home experienced by MacComish and many like him, in search of a future that was only possible in a new language and society. The sense of Gaelic as a relic of a past age, struggling to survive in the mid-20th century, is overpowering, and it can readily be recognised as an ongoing anxiety today. The withering of Gaelic and the society that once nourished it is typically traced back to the 12th and 13th centuries. It is often characterised as the consequence of an earlier movement of modernisation and cultural displacement. This is expressed starkly by another Gaelic poet from Lewis, Donald Macaulay, who in 1991 succeeded Rory McComish to the chair of Celtic at the University of Glasgow. In a brief account of the history of Gaelic in his edited collection of essays on the Celtic languages, published in 1992, Macaulay explains that Cullum III and his descendants, who monopolised the Scottish kingship from 1097, consolidated their power using, and I've got quotes there, Anglo-Norman soldiers of fortune, leading to the gradual replacement of the Gaelic-speaking leadership of state and church. The English-speaking followers of these Anglo-Normans, in turn, he said, replaced Gaelic speakers throughout the population. By bringing in Anglo-Normans, moreover, the kings of Scots imported, he said, a system of control that was entirely different from the Gaelic system in social, political and military organisation, and was suited to the establishment of a centralised state. Matthew Hammond has shown how this image of social organisation and language as inherent characteristics of a people is implicit in the way historians discuss this period, part of a much wider and deeply embedded legacy of 19th century modes of thinking. Aspects of kingship, law, landholding and religion are categorised as either Celtic or Anglo-Norman, as if these are mutually exclusive. As a result, all that is new is implicitly and sometimes explicitly regarded as by definition a departure from Gaelic norms and therefore anti-Celtic in nature. Change is associated with incomers and contrasted with native society. It is no surprise that Macaulay saw the initial decline of a Gaelic language in terms of population displacement and the adoption of a foreign social system. The main contrast between his summation of the period and that of the historians whose work he drew on is that he applied these underlying assumptions succinctly and explicitly to the question of Gaelic's decline. The image of Gaelic society that emerges from this long-established mode of thinking is of a culture left behind by history, at odds with change in the 12th century as much as the 20th, gradually pushed to the margins of mainstream society by successive waves of modernisation, culminating in McCombis's bleak vision of a broken picture, cast out and doomed to be forgotten. Is a fresh perspective possible that is more radical than reconfiguring the opposition of Celtic and Anglo-Norman, as Neville has done, by replacing these terms with others like Gaelic and European? There's Cynthia Neville's book. Now, the significance of Neville's work as the first attempt to use Gaelic rather than the more ambiguous Celtic as an analytical category in the history of this period should not be underestimated. The result, however, of contrasting Gaelic with European is that Gaelic is defined by what is old and peculiar and remains in essentially the same situation as before, unable to participate fully in a changing world. Is it possible to write a history of this period that presents Gaelic as part of the process of transformation rather than its inevitable victim? A link between widespread change and the decline of the Gaelic language appears unavoidable. But it is useful to ask if this was inevitable and if every change was necessarily a threat to Gaelic. Now, this will only take us so far. In the end, it will be necessary to confront the idea that peoples can be defined and studied objectively as distinct cultures and societies. It is only by releasing ourselves from this deep-seated assumption that the ingrained habit of categorising customs, practices and institutions with an ethnic label as either Anglo-Norman or European, or Celtic or Gaelic, will be broken. An obvious approach might be to invoke the work of social scientists and political philosophers, where this mode of thinking was abandoned more than a generation ago. It is clear from their work that the idea of peoples or nations as distinct societies and cultures is not an objective reality, but a modern image with its roots in the 18th century. The impact of this fundamental insight, however, will be negligible on how we think about the transformation of Scotland in the 12th and 13th centuries unless it can be worked out in practice through the discipline of history on its own terms, engaging directly and openly with the available sources. It is only then that the image of Gaelic in this period as a culture and society doomed to be left behind in a changing world can be convincingly challenged. and Geleth Brister, in this context, is both broken picture and shattered image, and is not only about breaking the idea of Gaelic's inherent inability to be part of a changing world, it is above all about discarding the image of peoples as distinct cultures and societies. The fundamental challenge is to think what it means for Gaelic history if the image of peoples as socially unified and culturally homogeneous is itself recognised as the shattered relic of a bygone age whose intellectual architecture has crumbled beyond repair. So, first let us explore the possibility of challenging the consensus of 2 centuries or more of scholarship through a determined rereading. I know let's go for a broke here. By a determined rereading of the transformation of the 12th and 13th centuries. This will take as its starting point a fresh look at the evidence to see if incoming practices and peoples were indeed regarded at the time as un-Gaelic. Now, although this has the potential to show that an alternative pro-Gaelic view is feasible, this is ultimately no more sustainable than what you might call the traditional approach of characterising change as anti-Celtic. A more radical alternative will ultimately be required, rooted explicitly and transparently in the sources that survive from this period. On the face of it, a major obstacle to producing an avowedly pro-Gaelic account of the transformation of Scotland in this period is that the predominant type of source at historians' disposal is itself an importation from England, and might therefore be suspected as being inherently prone to giving a non-native perspective. Geoffrey Barrow observed that on a superficial reading of this material, to quote, "It is hard to avoid the impression that the slate was wiped clean Kirk 1100 and a fresh start made," end of quote. These sources are Latin texts that originated as a single sheet of parchment, written in someone's voice, and authenticated by their seal, just like that one. Now, none like this are known to have existed in Gaelic Scotland until the reign of Alexander I, 1107 to 1124. The great majority that survive are charters relating to property and privileges held by monasteries founded from England or France, or by incoming lords and those who intermarried with them. Their script and format were derived from English practice and remained much the same as English charters. Other types of sealed single documents, sheet documents, took the form of written instructions in the king's name to his officials, developing by the end of the 12th century into the beginning of bureaucratic government, and in due course, into a system of justice common throughout the kingdom. Here, then, we have a fundamental innovation that had a profound and lasting impact, but which originated elsewhere. So, were charters and written instructions regarded at the time as incompatible with Gaelic? The most potent indication that they were not, and actually there's much more to be said than what I'm going to do for you now, but I'll just get to the main example. So the most potent indication which you've got in front of you that they were not regarded as anti-Gaelic is found in the seal of Malcolm IV, who reigned 1153 to 1165. The seal was the formal embodiment of the king's authority that was used to authenticate the documents written in his name. We may be sure that much care and thought went into its design. I could say more about that. It might be expected that Mulcolm would be rendered as Latin Mulcolmus, based on a French or English form of the name, and the rest of the seal's legend is in Latin, Deo Rectori Rex Scotorum. Mulcolmus was certainly current in England by this time, and it became the default form of the name Mulcolm in charters in Scotland. But instead of identifying the king as Mulcolmus on a seal, he is given instead as Mulcolm, instantly recognisable as Gaelic. It would appear that those at the heart of the royal household, when the 12-year-old Mulcolm became king in 1153, saw nothing contradictory in preferring Gaelic in this context. Not only does this challenge the notion that charters and royal written instructions were inherently un-Gaelic, but it also called into question the routine assumption that the royal household itself was, in Geoffrey Barrow's words, quote, emphatically feudal, Frankish and non-Celtic in character, end of quotes. This is not to deny that the The major offices of Chancellor, Chamberlain, Constable, Steward, Butler and Marshal were all adopted from English and French practice and occupied initially by Franco-English immigrants, or that the clerks and chaplains who accompanied the king belonged to the same milieu. Neither is it to overlook Barrow's own observation that a Gaelic element in the household continued until the 1170s, the date of the latest appearance of the office of Ranelagh, responsible for the distribution of food. And that job was presumably done according to rank, placing the Ranelagh in a key position in recognising the relative status of those who dined with the king. There's some wonderful Irish tales about what happens if you get the carving wrong, who gets what part of the animal. Anyway, the question raised by the appearance of Malcolm IV as Malcolm on its seal is why it is assumed that Gaelic was not spoken, at least to some extent, by Franco-English office bearers, as well as by the Ranelagh and other natives. There are possible indications that David I could speak Gaelic and used it when conducting business. The question is brought chiefly into focus, however, because the person who would have had direct responsibility for the seal and may be assumed to have commissioned its design was the Chancellor, Walter de Bidden. He was the younger brother of the Baron of Lavenden between Northampton and Bedford, and served as Chancellor of the King of Scots from 1147 until the early 1160s, and then again from most of the 1170s, dying in 1178 as Bishop-elect of Celt. A simple explanation for why Gaelic Malcolm was preferred on the King's seal rather than Latin Malcolmus would be that Gaelic was a regular language of the royal household, spoken by incomers as well as native speakers, and that Malcolm rather than Malcolm was therefore how David's successor as king was referred to by them in irregular context. Now, exploring the implications of occasional, if potent, pieces of evidence like this spelling of Malcolm's name and seal can go some way towards challenging the portrayal of Gaelic as inherently incompatible with innovation and change. If an alternative narrative were constructed in this way, albeit with an unavoidable element of polemic, it would certainly provide an opportunity to offer a corrective to some of the more excessive claims that have been made about the rejection of Gaelic culture and society in this period, and this can be illustrated by turning to the Church. New ecclesiastical institutions, structures and personnel were brought from the south between around 1115 and 1150 by Alexander I and David I. The bishoprics of St Andrews and Glasgow were transformed, and a diocese of Aberdeen established. Monasteries were planted across parts of the kingdom, particularly in the east between Kelso and Scone, as well as in Murray and Cumberland. At the same time, local churches began to be formed into parishes. This should be seen in a broader context of ecclesiastical reorganisation and monastic renewal across Latin Christendom. Reformers, particularly those at the vanguard of recently established monastic orders, demanded new norms of clerical discipline and societal conduct, and condemned existing practices as barbaric. It is easy to assume that a similar zeal informed David I's efforts to transform the Church, especially given his sustained commitment throughout his reign to founding monasteries of the new orders. For Gordon Donaldson, therefore, it seemed obvious that, I quote, an innovator like David I had to provide for the extinction or absorption of outdated communities of Chaldees. Chaldees, i.e. Kennedy, were a former religious community that had its origins in 8th century Ireland. Now, in both cases cited by Donaldson, we only cite two cases. However, David I was not ostensibly the prime mover. He was merely facilitating Bishop Robert of St Andrews' attempts to find additional resources for the House of Augustinian Canons, which he, the bishop, had founded as a priory in 1140 to serve his cathedral. Now, this involved the bishop first, so these are the two bits of evidence. This involved the bishop first transferring his control of all the property rights held by the Cayley Gates in Surf's Island, Lochleven, to the new foundation, and second, proposing that the Cayley Gates St Andrews could either become canons or, on their death, be replaced by an Augustinian canon, so that over time all their lands would be acquired by St Andrews Cathedral Priory. The plan to gradually take over the Cayley Gates St Andrews was ineffective. The Cayley remained a separate entity with its own lands, becoming in the 13th century a college of priests serving a royal chapel just outside the cathedral's precincts, whose foundations you see. A more accurate characterisation of David I's policy, the example cited by Donaldson, would be to say that he supported bishops in his kingdom in their efforts to enhance their resources, material as well as spiritual. In this, however, David showed no rigid adherence to a reformist agenda. He was as willing to help the Bishop of Brechin as any other bishop, even though the Bishop of Brechin almost certainly owed his position to an ecclesiastical kindred headed by an abb, a Gaelic term for the person who exercised lordship over a major church and its possessions. The name of the Bishop of Brechin who benefited from David's attentions is not known, but if it was Bishop Samson, who was in post towards the end of David's reign, then he was almost certainly a close relative, possibly the son of Leod, Abb of Brechin. Now, the idea of ecclesiastical office and lands belonging to a family was anathema to church reformers. It might be expected, therefore, that David I, as an innovator, to use Donaldson's term, would have sought to suppress rather than support such a bishop. But no, instead, we find David I granting the Bishop of Brechin and the Cayley there the right to hold a market at Brechin every Sunday, to quote, as freely as the Bishop of St Andrews has a market. A grant that was renewed by King William the Lion sometime between 1165 and 1171. Establishing markets in this way was an innovation. It is clear that the ecclesiastical kindred, who were the secular and spiritual lords of the Church of Brechin, saw the granting of a market as enhancing their position, not as a threat to their Gaelic culture and identity. Equally, it is apparent that David I was as prepared to grant the privilege of holding a market to the unreformed ecclesiastical establishment of Brechin as to the formed bishopric like St Andrews. Now, following the death of Bishop Samson sometime in the 1170s, bishops of Brechin were no longer members of the predominant ecclesiastical kindred. And initially, the bishops were probably members of the royal household. Nevertheless, descendants of Leod, Abb of Brechin, continued in possession of ecclesiastical lands well into the 13th century and actually beyond. One branch, who probably took the surname Mach and Abba, descendants of the Abb, became lords of Glanesk, while a member of another branch, who took the surname MacLeod, has the distinction of being the only person to have received an estate as a few for the service of a knight by Alexander II, 1214 to 1249. This included lands in Angus that owed renders to the Abb of Brechin. What is especially striking is that members of this kindred continued to be prominent in the cathedral's affairs into the early 13th century. And this has been known, Donald Watt, I think, was the first person who actually drew attention to the existence of this kindred, and Brown followed up, and others subsequently. Anyway, this kindred would therefore have worked alongside Bishop Turpin, university graduate, who was probably a royal clerk before being elected as Bishop of Brechin in the late 1170s, dying or resigning by 1198 or 1199. And this ecclesiastical kindred would also have continued with Bishop Rolf, who was probably one of the king's chaplains and died sometime in or between 1212 and 1214. At the time of Bishop Rolf's death, John, son of Mel Isu, son of Lot, was Abb of Brechin, you can see from the chart, and Mel Breacher MacLeod, son of Devil, John's predecessor was Abb of Brechin, son of Bishop Samson, was prior of the Cayley of Brechin. There is no way of telling the state of relations between Bishops Turpin, Ralph, and their successors, and the cathedral establishment in which the descendants of Lot were so prominent. Presumably, it was a workable arrangement to have lasted for at least half a century. Be this as it may, Brechin was certainly not a corner of the country that was remote from royal power. Catriona Gray, in her study of the bishopric, has observed that, quote, there seems to be a heavy correspondence between Brechin's sphere of influence and that of the King of Scots, end of quote. The lordship of Brechin itself had presumably originated as royal land. In the 13th century, it belonged to a branch of the royal family, descendants of Henry of Brechin, the legitimate son of David of Huntingdon, younger brother of Kings Malcolm IV and William the Lion. Far from being shunned or suppressed, the ecclesiastical kindred headed in David's reign, Leod, Abb of Brechin, appears to have been supported by successive kings from at least around 1150 to 1230, eventually becoming established, probably on church land, through royal patronage as important lay barons in Angus. There is no indication that they had to make any significant concessions beyond allowing the king to exercise decisive influence over the election of the bishop. Now, not all older churches had the same happy experience as Brecon. A suggestive pattern, however, can be discerned, which helps to explain why some thrived and others declined in significance or were entirely replaced. And the point here is that this is a pattern that we find actually throughout Latin Christendom, with old and new having different interactions, and it's got nothing to do with ethnicity, not ostensibly. So the key, in the Scottish context, was who held the position of abb, or its equivalent, and therefore exercised direct lordship over the church in question. This explains the contrasting fates of the Ceiri of St Andrews and of St Surfsile Lochleven. The latter, St Surfsile Lochleven, were directly under the lordship of the Bishop of St Andrews. As such, they were vulnerable to the bishop's power and could be transferred to St Andrews Cathedral Priory and be compelled to become Augustinian canons. The Ceiri of St Andrews, on the other hand, were not dependent on the bishop and could not be forced to amalgamate with the new priory. Another example is William the Lion, who had direct lordship over Abernethy, erecting the office and lands of the abb into a few for Orms and Nath and Gillivichel, Monreale of Fife in the early 1130s. The king evidently retained control over the church of Abernethy, its chapels, and much of its ecclesiastical revenues, however, because he later, around 1190, gave this to his new own foundation, Arbroath Abbey, leaving the Ceiri at Abernethy with diminished resources. Even if it is conceded that entrenched ecclesiastical establishments remained a significant presence in the East throughout the 12th century, this on its own, we might say, quite rightly, does not mean that they were up to date. Indeed, the idea of lay control of churches and ecclesiastical kindreds was out of step with what was increasingly regarded as the norm. It is tempting, therefore, to suppose that they were out of step in a wider sense, and that there would have been little interest by them in new mainstream learning, preferring instead to maintain the traditional ways centred on Ireland, and especially Armagh, where Scottish students had sought a higher education since at least the 10th century. There is indeed evidence that Armagh as a centre for Scottish students continued into the late 12th century. In 1169, Rory O'Connor, King of Ireland, established an endowment to support the Fair Lady, i.e. head of clerical learning, of Armagh in teaching scholars from Scotland as well as from Ireland. It is likely, however, that the education they received there in 1169, under the overall direction of the chief Fair Lakin at the time, was a Flann O'Gorman, who died in 1174, that this would have reflected the 21 years that Flann, the chief Fair Lakin, had spent at centres of learning in England and France before taking up his post at Armagh in 1154. There is no reason to suppose, therefore, that any Scottish student travelling to Ireland for their education in this period was seeking to avoid ideas and influence from the south. The reverse is more likely in this case. Such evidence as there is suggests that the wider developments could be embraced without disturbing traditional structures of learning. All in all, it is possible to begin to construct an alternative account of the kingdom's transformation that recognises the continuing vitality of Gaelic while in no way diminishing the novelty of charters, the creation of new royal offices, the foundation of new monasteries, or for that matter, the establishment of parishes and dioceses, the founding of markets and boroughs, and the introduction of knight service, all accompanied by the immigration of monks and churchmen, lords and their followers, knights and merchants. Once it is acknowledged that none of these changes were regarded at the time as inimical to Gaelic, it is possible to envisage that Gaelic could have remained prominent in the royal household and beyond, alongside French and English. It is also important to recognise the enduring power of Gaelic-speaking kindreds, not only in nearly every province north of the Forth, where they continue to monopolise the leading role in warfare, but also in the church and other professional orders, such as the lawmen or judges referred to in the charters as judices. Once this is recognised, it is possible to imagine how incoming lords could merge into regional society through ties of marriage, community, and clientship. This would be especially the case where the king exercised direct lordship, providing a shared point of reference of immediate practical significance. The result is a view of the kingdom as still largely Gaelic-speaking around 1200, if not later, albeit with significant areas of social interaction, trade, monasteries, and aristocratic relations abroad, where English or French were essential and Gaelic had little or no place. The relationship between the decline of Gaelic and the changes that occurred in the 12th and 13th centuries could then be reassessed, offering the potential to identify which factors in particular may have been pivotal, rather than assuming that all were generally the harbingers of Gaelic's doom, simply because they originated elsewhere. There are serious problems with this fresh approach, however. It relies on an imaginative response to the evidence based on a predetermined view of how to interpret it. As such, it bears a strong relationship to the time-honoured assumption that all change and innovation is anti-Gaelic, except, of course, that it starts from a diametrically opposite position, that even the most fundamental transformation should not be viewed automatically as inimical to Gaelic. The main improvement is that it is based on an explicit acknowledgement of its predetermined position, rather than resting on inherited assumptions that unwittingly perpetuate previous modes of thinking. Although this may be regarded as a step in the right direction, it is inherently predetermined in nature. As such, it cannot be said to bring the full potential of history as a discipline to bear on the period, the potential to develop new insights and perspectives through a sensitive and open engagement with the source material that is to hand. In order to achieve this, it is necessary to go further and confront what lies at the heart of the time-honoured approach to this period, namely, the unspoken assumption that peoples form distinct societies and cultures. It is this image of the individuality of peoples, each with their own particular customs, characteristics, and language, that has made it so natural to suppose that any innovation adopted from elsewhere was necessarily a threat to Gaelic culture and society, and could most easily be understood in terms of population displacement and the imposition of a foreign system. This image has its roots not in the medieval evidence itself, but in the modern expectation that nations are defined by their unique cultural and social attributes. The idea of a common language and culture as essential qualities of nationhood was first developed in the 18th century. Ultimately, it is another aspect of the Enlightenment's enduring legacy in shaping modern modes of thinking. This is not to suggest that the Middle Ages lacked a sense of peoples defined by language and culture, but this had not yet come to be seen as essential in determining or justifying political allegiance and sovereignty. In the 12th and 13th centuries, there was indeed an increasing sense of kingdoms as peoples, but this was thought of as part of a divinely sanctioned hierarchy of obedience, rather than the natural order of nations with the inherent potential to be self-governing if they were not already states. Now, it is one thing to recognise that the history of Gaelic Scotland in the 12th and 13th centuries, as presented by generations of historians, has been shaped, usually subconsciously, on a modern idea of peoples as mutually exclusive cultures and societies that endure throughout history. It is a much greater challenge to reframe this by eschewing the idea that language should necessarily define a culture and society. Indeed, this would appear to be a contradiction in terms. What else is the history of Gaelic Scotland if it is not an account of the development of Gaelic-speaking society over time? The need to find an alternative approach, however, is not simply for the sake of rejecting outmoded assumptions. And in the last section of my talk, I will argue that it is a necessary response to the evidence at our disposal. Put simply, there is insufficient material to support a coherent definition of Gaelic-speaking Scotland in the 12th and 13th centuries without resorting to predetermined assumptions or positions. This is not to deny the importance of Gaelic in this period, of course. There are very few areas where Gaelic place names are not found on the modern map of Scotland, with the exceptions of the northeast tip of Caithness and Northern Isles, and the basin of the rivers Tweed and Teviot in the southeast. You're very familiar with these maps, many of you, I'm sure. And basically, each time we say Ach in Lanark, Caithness, Och Nerran in Aberdeenshire, Och in Loch in Lanarkshire, Och in Crow in Berwickshire, and thousands of Gaelic names like them, we hear in our voices the echo of Gaelic speakers who lived in each of these places once upon their time and gave them their names. There's much more to be said about that, but we can do that afterwards if you like. Although place names are an ideal source for showing where Gaelic was spoken, they are an uncertain guide to when. That would depend on knowing when a place name was coined, which is usually impossible to determine even to the nearest century. In the case of names in Bala, like Balmoral, there are grounds for dating these to no earlier than the 12th century, which means if you see that rash of spots in the East Lowlands, that becomes very interesting. However, we can only guess how much later each instance of a Bala name might have been coined after the early 12th century. The other potential indicator of Gaelic speaking is personal names. Now, it's very rare to get a detailed snapshot of different levels of society in the same region in our period. This can be found, however, in an exceptional record of a legal determination or recognition by Perth Sheriff Court, and it survives in Dunfermline Abbey, Canterbury. Don't worry, don't try and read it all. We'll work through it a bit. Right, unfortunately, the document is undated, but the two individuals who head the list, Sir Robert Hay and William Blair, appear in the People of Radio Scotland database, with date ranges of their recorded activity overlapping in the 1240s and 1250s. So we'll say that that's when this comes from. The record is likely to belong to those decades, therefore. 3 levels of society can be discerned. At the top are 9 individuals who are given at the beginning simply by name, usually in the form X of Y, but there is, however, a Eugenius, Ogan, Black in Caird, and apparently his father, Gilchrist. There then follows the second level, a list of suitors of places in Stormont, Gowrie, and Atholl. The suitors are not usually named, but there are. These suitors, however, are accompanied by men whose names afford us a glimpse of a third, even more local level of society that is not otherwise visible in this area at this time. Many of those named alongside the suitors have Gaelic names. And this is particularly striking in the case of places in lowland Perthshire. For example, the suitor of Octor Gavin, who's in Gavin, is accompanied by Colin Mac in Dior, the suitor of Capeth by Dillamura and Mac Ericht, and the suitor of Strathord by Colin MacDougall and Macbetheth MacBanhill. The suitor of Murphley, named as Robert Capeth, has a William Callantarach with him. Although the byname is uncertain, it is doubtless Gaelic. Not everyone in this third level, however, has a Gaelic name, surname or byname. The suitor of Michael has Ralph and Robert with him, and the suitor of Inchtuthil, whose name is Gilbert, has Roger, son of Hugh Long, and Gilbert, son of Colin. It is difficult to draw hard and fast conclusions about predominant local vernacular on this evidence. The document, of course, is in Latin. There is, however, at least an impression that Gaelic retained a presence even in the lowlands, a day's ride from Perth as late as the 1240s and 1250s. However, before you got too much that down, before we get carried away with this remarkable text, however, we should pause and think. The document is in Latin, and because I have rendered the surnames in Gaelic, does not mean that those who bore those surnames were Gaelic speakers. By definition, these names were inherited. Personal names are not much better. The choice of a name was primarily determined by family tradition and social ties, not cultural affinity. As a result, it was not uncommon for names that originated in one vernacular to be adopted in another. The only kind of name that is likely to be informative about which language is current is a byname. But that is only true if the byname has not become a surname. Can we be sure, therefore, that in this case, William Callantarach was not a surname? If we look again at this remarkable document and ask ourselves if there is any clear evidence that any of these individuals belong to a Gaelic-speaking community, the answer, regrettably, has to be no. Let us consider our predicament in a little more depth. You see, so again, it just depends where you're coming from. Are you wanting to find them or not? Now, our main source for this period is charters, written in Latin, usually by scribes whose usual vernacular is likely to have been French or English. Nevertheless, about 3,500 survived before 1250. Nevertheless, the charters abound in Gaelic names. Some even include the word Mac, son. However, even if, for the sake of argument, every instance of Mac in a personal name is taken to signify a Gaelic speaker, this can shed very little light on the prevalence or otherwise of Gaelic among the regional and local elites who witnessed charters. This was Mac can also be a surname. Of the total of 14,017 named men before 1286, in Tom's database, only 42 are identified with Mac before 1200 and 78 after 1200. There will therefore be many Gaelic speakers who are not identified with Mac. There will also be some in which Mac was part of their sounding, and therefore an uncertain indicator that an individual spoke Gaelic. And there's much more to be said about why Mac appears when it does in charters. There are many more individuals with Gaelic personal names. These could, however, have been given to individuals in a context that was not Gaelic speaking. A person could be named Isu, for example, because of a close association with the family of Earls of Strathdown, which had a prominent member a prominent member called Isu in each generation throughout this period. For example, Isu, son of Anacol, who was active in the late 1250s, witnessed 3 charters of Isu of Strathdown, who was armed between 1245 and 1271. Isu's father, Anacol, was referred to as my Thane by Earl Isu's grandfather, Gilbert of Strathdown. He was around between 1171 and 1223. It is more than likely, therefore, that Isu, son of Anacol, was named with the Earl's family in mind. It is possible that Gaelic was his first language, but that could only be established through common evidence, which is sadly lacking. The name Isu, however, evidently gained a wider currency in this region without the bearer necessarily having a personal connection to the Earls. I don't know if it's going to be visible. It's not. Never mind, I'm going to take it on trust then. For example, in a charter of Abraham, Bishop of Dunblane, dated sometime between 1210 and 1223, 5 of the 10 witnesses are called Isu. 3 were churchmen in Strathdown, 1 was the Earl's steward, and another the Earl's brother. So only the last 2, as far as we can see, had a personal connection to the Earl. It is equally true, of course, that non-Gaelic names could be borne by Gaelic speakers. It would be no surprise, for example, if the French names Guillaume, say, and Robert joined the pool of names used in a Gaelic-speaking context through emulating someone who was significant to the family, or more generally, especially if a name was borne by a king or an earl. As far as names as evidence of the use of Gaelic is concerned, therefore, and there's much more to be said about this, of course, if you want to buy me a pint afterwards, therefore, the overall picture is, I'm afraid, one of uncertainty and ambiguity. Even though it cannot be claimed that someone belonged to a predominantly Gaelic-speaking milieu simply because they bore a Gaelic forename, there is equally no doubt that many individuals called, for example, Gilbert, Hugh, and Marjorie were, in reality, Gaelic speakers. There will also have been many Gaelic speakers who were christened with Gaelic forms of names like William, Joel, and Mary. The problem is that there is normally no way in the records themselves to pick out any of these potential Gaelic speakers from others called Marjorie, Mary, Gilbert, Hugh, William, or John. A more fruitful indication of the prominence of a particular vernacular language is by names. As noted already, these can reveal the linguistic community to which someone primarily belonged. It is very unusual, unfortunately, to find Gaelic by-names in documents. There are examples, however, that point to the use of Gaelic in eastern Scotland later than might be expected. And one I've not mentioned, and just mentioned in passing, at the top of society is Walter Balloch, who was one of their teeth in the mid and late 13th century. However, we'll go a bit lower down in society and get, oh, sorry, I've skipped that bit, there we are. Right, in the early 13th century, a certain Cormac Luchach, that's mouse-like apparently, was cleared from land at Ardross in Fife. There's Ardross, you see the blue dot. In the same period, we learn of a local lord a few miles from Forfar called Milbreach and Neranach. Well, there it is, yes. He was probably a very kind and nice gentleman, actually. Now, there's no reason to suppose that these were surnames. Each, therefore, would seem to offer direct evidence that Gaelic was spoken locally in the East Duke of Fife and in central Angus in the early 13th century. Simon Taylor has identified an even later example of a Gaelic by-name in a source for Canada where it survives. the genealogies of Dunfermline Abbey's unfree men living in the parish of Kingrassy in the 1330s. He has argued that one of them, called Gilachrist Mantach, stammering, toothless, was alive in the late 13th century. This suggests that Gaelic may have been spoken among the unfree population of central West Fife as late as the 1270s or the 1280s. It would be unwise, however, to suppose that Gaelic in central Fife was, by that time, necessarily limited to pockets of speakers of the lowest status. Simon Taylor has also drawn attention to a list of jurors in 1319 in Kinross, about 10 miles to the west and north of Kingrassy, which included at least one person with a Gaelic byname, Gilla Isu Buidha. Buidha, yellow, is a frequent Gaelic byname, and presumably it refers to hair colour. As a juror in a case presided over by a justiciar, it is likely that Gilla Isu Buidha was locally significant and not, therefore, of the lowest rank. So, at the end of the day, all we have are tiny snapshots in time and place that suggest a complex picture of Gaelic's decline in different localities and contexts. This is what we might expect from studies of language, in more modern times where records are plentiful. And actually, that's not come out quite so. If you've got that live, as it were, you'd see the tiny, tiny variations there are in down there in the south, as well as in the north, in how many Welsh speakers there are, according to the census. Anyway, in the absence of detailed evidence for the 12th and 13th centuries, we are left to guesswork by extrapolating from the few glimpses we have. Guesswork is not a sufficient basis for deciding where and when to draw the line in order to include the history of Gaelic Scotland. It is impossible to define a general history embracing society, culture and politics by language in a period when that language's geographical spread contracted so significantly, and when data is scarce for investigating the dynamic of its decline. It is impossible to track this even in Fife, the region in eastern Scotland with the most records from this period, and which has benefited from the most rigorous scholarly scrutiny. We can only guess when Gaelic was no longer spoken by most of its inhabitants, or ceased to be used by members of the elite, or in what context it remained the main medium of communication for longest. The evidence that does exist for who spoke Gaelic when and where in this period is not only patchy but problematic. The little evidence we have, moreover, reveals no clear pattern. Just do this. There we are. So we need not doubt, for example, that trade and commerce encouraged the spread of English/Scots. The increased use of money would, no doubt, have created new forms of social interaction that involved the acquisition of a new language. This would explain the rise of bilingualism. It does not, on its own, represent language death, however. There are indications that Gaelic existed in the mid-13th century and early 14th century, at least in pockets, in places which could hardly be described as remote. In the end, therefore, although it is possible to identify Gaelic speakers occasionally, and to sketch a fresh understanding of the chronology and nature of Gaelic's decline, this depends wholly on how we resolve ambiguities and attempt to fill the gaps in our knowledge. The problem is that there is insufficient material to allow our thinking to be responsible primarily to the evidence rather than resting on our presuppositions, pro-Gaelic or anti-Gaelic, if you like. If Gaelic history in this period is to be shaped by a direct and open engagement with the material at our disposal, but still have the Gaelic language as its unifying point of reference, then a radically different approach is required. And this can only be achieved by abandoning the expectation that it should be the history of a distinct society and culture defined by language. Instead, different aspects of the 12th and 13th centuries could be highlighted in which the Gaelic language played a central part in shaping the history of Scotland. This would extend to aspects in which Gaelic lay in the background as a fundamental factor, as in the political relationships with Ireland that depended on using Gaelic. Another example is the way that Ireland was imagined as part of the kingdom's ancient history and identity, an idea that had its roots in patterns of thinking about the Scottish kingship that were developed by Gaelic literati in the 12th century and earlier. There could also be a discussion of continuity and change, examining surnames of Mac and Gaelic place names such as Bala as evidence for social change, and also Gaelic words and concepts such as coin and davach that continued to be used in contexts where Scots became the predominant language. There could also be discussions of institutions and families with Gaelic origins, such as the Britha or Udex, Morbeer and Killyjay churches, and the cults of saints that were originally Gaelic. Instead of seeing continuities such as these essential, however, they would form only one approach to Gaelic history in this period. The result should be a series of interlinked studies rather than a coherent account of the culture and history of Gaelic-speaking people in this period, or of a people as a homogeneous unit in any sense. Rather than presenting a single picture, albeit widely ramified and detailed, this framework challenges our expectations that a history based on a particular language should be that of a people as a distinct culture and society. Instead of regarding this as a broken picture, it can be seen as a shattered image that, by discarding the expectations of national history, enables the multifaceted and fundamental significance of the Gaelic language as part of Scottish history in this period to be understood more fully. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much, Dauvit, for a fascinating and, should we say, challenging talk that I'm sure will generate a fair few questions. Whilst my colleagues in the room here frantically scribble ideas down, perhaps I'll open it up, the discussion up to Sealand in the first instance. So if anybody's got any questions, now's your opportunity to ask them.
Cox is gone.
Okay, so we'll let folks out there. Was anybody trying to come in? I think so. We'll let folks out there concentrate for a minute or two, and I'll open it back up to the room here. So, colleagues.
Dauvit, just in regards to the kind of use of binames and not anything, I know fantastic amount of it, but only from transcribing English garrisons from 15th century France and finding a garrison effectively of Welsh troops, which was rendered by an Anglo clerk into some of French. I suppose it's the extent to which a lot of the kind of the binames themselves have been lost in translation in the record evidence.
Right, so when the document I mentioned from Proud Sheriff Court, and when I translated it as Duncan with a small, that's obviously, you don't know home, small. Exactly. So it's only where you've got in a language other than the one that's writing that you just think to yourself, okay, something going on.
That's what then just putting or whether you can kind of track it in terms of what's in the record. And then if you want to extend the speculative element, maybe it's not, but in terms of what was rendered in, what was rendered into, what it could be. But
But I think exactly. I think that the trouble we've got is just remembering. So you've got these 41250 and 500 charters. There are lots and lots of names, but there's just a huge grey area. And understanding the personal names that chosen just because it's not a Gaelic one, and so there's all that. And there's not so many Gaelic names, unfortunately. Through that tends to be more French context actually, or English. But it's absolutely fascinating and frustrating. And it's just being aware of this area, which is the main problem.
I noticed that most of the sources you were using were from Fife, Angus, and Strathearn, which presumably if any of this is, if we can draw any conclusion from it at all, was possibly a contact zone. It's not a very big term either, but maybe a bilingual, bicultural zone and so on. And I was just wondering if that's the reason that you focused on those areas, or if those are the only documents which are of any use for this sort of study. One of the areas which came to my mind was Galloway, which we might assume was Gaelic or some Celtic language anyway speaking at the time. Is there any evidence about what was going on there in the study?
So what happens is, broadly speaking, the clearest indications you have of Gaels is places that don't surprise. So Galloway or Lennox. There's a wonderful chart, for example, on Lennox, and every single person, with one exception, personally, proper now, I should say, because it's so placed as well, is Galloway. Every single one. And it's a charter. So as far as charters being out of Canada, just seems a useful way to think about it. As far as picking up, to say, well, lots of Gaelic speakers in the Lennox in this period is telling us nothing that we don't know what to guess. So when it really becomes problematic then is dealing with the areas we're not sure, we feel less confident. That's the problem. Galloway, there's a particular misfortune with Galloway, which isn't really related to this question, but to charters generally, which is that there are lots of monasteries founded, not one party or collection of charters survives for them. So there will be hundreds, thousands of these documents that would survive in 5 contexts. Like situation. For Galloway, are dependent on the fact that
yeah, this may be a really stupid question. I'm wondering about how important it was. I mean, you talked about the bilingual element here, but in terms of the scribe, and also in terms of the respondent, if you were asked your name as a Gaelic speaker, as a monolingual Gael or a bilingual Gael, would it depend on the context how you referred to yourself? Whether you used a mimic, so if you're abroad, you might refer to the fact that you're from wherever it might be, because you would know that the scribe, what that meant. Does that mean anything in this context? Are there different ways of addressing yourself in different contexts?
There is, yes. I've had a look at when people identify as black, because it is very striking that some witnesses will be picked out this way, and what is going on. My own Elias, especially Mac Elephant. Elephant, so that's a French exotic French name. But there he is. He's probably in 5. Someone with a witness list to start chasing a tail where people actually were. Hunches, good hunches, in some cases. What is really annoying is that when I then look at this in more detail, for those charters where you can actually identify scribes and so on, it's very few we're dealing with. Inconsistency is what comes through. So there will be those people who are identified as Mac and they appear a few times, they don't always appear as Mac. So whose choice is this? Is this the witness's choice? As you say, is this how they want to be identified in this context? Or is this the scribe? I think it has to be significant. The scribe thinks it's there in this very public ceremony. The last royal charter, which has this feature, was in the 1170s, is Earth. And you've got 3 individuals who identify so that was presumably quite okay. You need to pick the scribe, almost certainly a chap like Bishop Lincoln, and who ended up as Bishop of Bury. So, not somebody who was brought up in a Gaelic speaking environment, for him, that's but this goes to a more sort of fundamental problem, is that it's not as if, even if we're thinking of it as just mapping decline, that's even if we thought we could do that, that tells us remarkably little, because it's actually social interactions that we should really be trying to find. And that's what we're even further away from picking up.
Anybody else in the room here at the moment? No? Okay. Opportunity for questions from beyond the room. Anybody?
I hope that wasn't terribly depressing. I actually see this as a matter of great hope and, and interest, but maybe.
Did Duncan want to come in?
Yeah.
Yeah. Duncan, did you want to come in? If you do, just fire away.
Testing 1 2 1 2. Can you hear me loud and clear? Excellent. Regarding the seal, was that the seal of Malcolm IV that you showed?
Yes.
So he, if I recall correctly, had a problem, I think, connecting with his Gaelic-speaking subjects to some extent. He was very much the epitome of the Normanization of that line of kings, as far as I've read thus far. So could there be a case for him deliberately trying to Gallicicize himself?
Yeah, so I think there are a couple of things. I mean, one is, remember he's 12. So I'm sure 12-year-olds can do all sorts of devious things, but anyway, but to be that tuned into the significance of the name of the seal, it would be interesting. But the other is just to stop and think, what are we saying when we're saying normalisation, and that he's against his Gaelic subjects and all the rest of it. He had particular difficulties with Galloway, of course, and he did have very significant to do in practice when he got back from Toulouse. But was that actually Stephen F. things, or was that more a matter of he's been away for doing things that we don't think are terribly relevant, and we're displeased, and he gets a bit of a reception committee when he gets back. In other words, what is actually going on, and when you look at in more detail at what is actually going on, as I did with the church, it actually does boil down more to power relationships, social ambitions, and all the rest of it. And the ethnic bit just isn't prominent, or if it's there, it's there as part of the rhetoric of a particular group, such as England, Igbo, and Cistercians, and Protestant now. So they do have a there being barbarians and then proper people like them. But even that is more complicated. It actually isn't all about Gaels being inveterate barbarians. They're actually thoughts they can become proper Christians and anybody else. So that's more complicated than at the same time Irish and so on. So it's the ethnic bit isn't so problem. So when we're talking about normalization and all this, we are just taking this assumption. It's really deeply embedded. I don't blame anybody for using it because it's there all over the place. But it's just when we sort of stop and do what I think this history is about, which is let's do the tune of the hand as little as we can, not forcing it too far in any particular direction. Being honest, what we can't do it is it will, to my mind, it just seems to disappear. Other possibilities come to mind. Anyway, I hope that isn't too confusing.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Right, okay, so thank you, Duncan. I think that was Fiona first. Okay, Fiona, over to you.
It was just to add to that, and it's something you told me, Dauvit, and it's slightly earlier than what you've been talking about, but just the example of Macbeth bringing in expelled Normans from England. I mean, no one would say that he wasn't a Celtic king or however you want to. And all he's just trying to do is modernise, is pick up on a new idea to get housecarls dependent on the crown rather than on the competing families. And so the ethnicity of it is not relevant. It's just picking up a new idea and in his case not running all that far with it. But we take it a century later and then you're having to say it's Norman versus Gales or whatever. So yeah, I was just to say that I really appreciate what you said there, and the terminology that we use is so ingrained, but nonetheless we really have to challenge it.
Thank you very much. Yeah, and unfortunately, so it was three of them, wasn't it? And they all got wiped out by Seward in 1054. Yeah, so it's a little good to There we are. I mean, also, when you get, it's also a matter of being aware of what your sources are doing. I mean, not to treat sources as just some quarries of information you can just put together, but being aware of them having their own course. So, for example, the Anglo-Saxon Chronicle, referring to Jonathan II as having to send away his English followers. I can't remember the exact phrase now, but that's obviously something like that happened, and as a result, he was then vulnerable enough for his uncle Dauvit Broun to kill him. But to see that as Ritchie and others have, as if this is some sort of ethically charged thing, is again, it's not necessary for starters. And we don't know who else was being told to pause off and leave Donegal exposed. But of course, the Anglo-Saxon Chronicle was going to pick up on the English. That seems a very natural way for the Anglo-Saxon Chronicles report what happened. Say Donald Brown is anti-English. These people being banished because they're English. And that's not to say that there is never any ethnic tensions and all the rest of it, but they do come to the surface, but in specific contexts.
Again, it's something I don't think there will be any evidence. I suppose if you look at Scottish calling out the Scottish Army, when you have this regional force coming together for like the Standard Campaign or so, if you have people with different languages, there must have been a decent element of command control. There had to be understanding of one language, well, even if it's through the medium of another. Or several others, in terms of leaders of companies or whatever. There surely has to be that element for the army to work, for it to function.
Exactly. Well, and that really brings us to another really fundamental point, which is what we mean by language. We should be thinking of things with dictionaries and grammar books necessarily, particularly dealing with the vernacular. So people will have as much a grasp languages that we actually need, depending on their social interactions. That's not to say that, actually, as it happens, Gaelic, of course, was very well established as a language of literacy, highly developed sense of grammar and all the rest of it, but in a very specific context of poetry, etc., not to get soldiers to do with it at all.
Okay, how are we doing? Yeah.
I'm just wondering how much information you can get from sort of linguistic force-nicks. The kind of thing I'm thinking of is that the Gaelic name for the town of Limerick is Limonach. But the English pronunciation, the English name Limerick, comes from a few hundred years ago when the northern pronunciation, Scottish Northern Ireland pronunciation, must have spread south, and the name Gaelic would have been Limerick. But previous to that, it would have been Limonach, as in the spelling. So that kind of localizes to within a small number of hundreds of years when the main English, when there was enough English contact with the town for the pronunciation with an R sound to be established in English. I'm just wondering, with place names coming from Gaelic to Scots, or words coming from Gaelic to Scots, or the other way around, Can you comment dates by knowing about sound changes in Scots or sound changes in Gaelic pronunciation?
Yes, there is huge potential for that. I mean, again, how precise it can be in terms of chronology is kind of slightly tricky because it's relative. But, I mean, a wonderful example is Tully Buddy and Tully Bowl. So they are, I understand, essentially the same. But it's been sort of linguistic phonological developments has meant that Tully Buddy contains the older form of Tully Bowl, younger forms. Therefore, that suggests you can start explaining that. The Gaelic was spoken for longer than Tully Bowl was until Buddy, even though a couple of miles away. Now, you wouldn't want to do that just for one example. You want to have lots and lots of that sort of thing going on. But there is potential, and I think it's particularly in Fife, you could say, because you've got more information to go on. There is a bit of a catch, though, and that is place names. They tend to be. There is a potential to be conservative once they're written. Once they assume they're written, and then in the media which are available to us, of course, are writing documents, that tends to perpetuate itself. So that actually could mean. So to give a modern example, why has Arbroath become Arbroath and Aberdeen become Aberdeen? The Aber bit of Arbroath is gone, but it's been retained in other places. So why is that? So Aberbrothic, Aberbrothic was understood in the 19th century. As I understand it, basically the station. It shows the local form rather than the literal form, whereas usually it's the other way around. It's the literal form that exists, and the local form, the actual spoken form that likes So it does actually get quite complicated quite quickly because we're dealing with things in a written context. Unfortunately, that's not to say you can't do anything different. I should say that there is good evidence for Gaelic literacy continuing through till around 1200 in late 12th century in pretty exalted circles. So the Genel of the King of Scots, for example, was transliterated, I would say probably 150 into a way that could be understood by people who didn't know Gaelic. Well, the person who did that knew exactly what they were doing. And the Gaelic orthographic form of the genealogy still continued to be copied in the Scottish context into the Reign of William the Lion, and then once it then reappears, which is much later, literary manuscripts, Andrew Williams, Tronco, and then it's the state of Turkey. So it's very interesting. Whereas the other version, which we translated, is retained. Actually, that's a different territory altogether. Anyway, but it's it's really interesting. Now, in the People in Medieval Scotland database, Robbie O'Malley did research on the proper noun, particularly the personal names. So there is a resource there. Pick out, you can go and search for Gaelic personal names, find how they've actually been rendered in the documents, and have a good look at that. In particular, but that's it helps to show that Karen is saying there's potential showing where Gaelic is still being used later on if it does changes. The development of language, again, it's all bits and pieces.
Okay, so we're getting close to our time limit. There's opportunity if there is for one or two more questions. So if anybody has anything pressing to say, either here in the room or out of the room, now's your opportunity, folks.
Dauvit, could I possibly ask, at the risk of you heard it perfectly clearly, just to go very briefly over what you were saying about the scarcity of documents from Galloway, because our sound editor real low point at that point? It was hard to make out.
Rightio. Yes, so the tragedy for our knowledge of Galloway in the 12th and 13th centuries is that they had the institutions, that is to say the monasteries, abundance, through which the documents that tend to survive. So the infrastructure was there in a way, for example, isn't true in the northeast of Aberdeenshire, very few monasteries. So much less likely to have material surviving. The tragedy is that despite having that really good start, if you like, and we can assume that the monasteries kept lots of charters, none survive. The only ones that do Galloway are from outside, Hogcoultron, Melrose, and Holyrood. This tragedy extends up to Cunningham, actually. The cartlery of Kilwilling was last heard of around 1800s. So, I mean, these things might still be there. And it would really be wonderful and absolutely amazing and would allow us to study and understand Galloway in particular so much better. But there we are. Yeah, we're just have to deep sigh.
And another beer. Okay, so one last opportunity for one more question. Anybody has one they desperately need to ask? Otherwise, I think it's some time to thank Dauvit once again for a really interesting talk. Thank you very much, Dauvit. Thank you. Just before I say goodbye to everybody, just remind people that our next seminar takes place in early March, so not all that long away now. That's Dr. Rachel Swallow talking about the landscape history of two Welsh castles. Staying largely within the medieval period, rather scarily, I find it. Here be monsters to me, I don't understand half of it. But anyway, just from here to you guys out there, thank you very much, folks, for attending.
Yeah, thank you.
Just a reminder that this is being recorded, so if you want to, have another think about what's been said, there is an opportunity via the Centre for History website. So thank you very much, and thank everybody in the room. Thank you.